Good evening, everyone. So happy to get to share another yin restorative and gentle flow with you tonight. For last night's full moon practice. And going back to the full moon as the day after, we can still draw some of that nurturing, calming, cool energy from the full moon today. I wanted to share some lyrics that you might find familiar. And if the cloud bursts, thunder in your ear, you shout and no one seems to hear. And if the band you're in starts playing different tunes, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon. By Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. So we talked about the dark and the light side of ourselves, the moon as a metaphor yesterday. I want to go a little bit more into that. Roger Waters interprets the lyrics of this song by saying that the dark side of the moon is something that we never see, but it's always there, just on the opposite side. The dark side of the moon can be considered the dark side of ourselves, what we perceive as bad emotions or impulses, the side that we try to hide from those around us. He says that we all have that side, but we need to keep it in check or it will take control of us, driving us to madness. Well, I just recently finished part of a training on trauma and resilience for yoga facilitators and mental health practitioners led by Hala Corey, and it was so insightful. She defined trauma as something that overwhelms our capacity to cope and respond. And it's such a broad range of situations, from the more obvious crises like perhaps rape or murder, things like that, but even the less obvious that are chronically happening, from social conditioning where we might feel oppressed, or familial conditions, or even experiencing bullying, so developmental and chronic trauma. And she also said that there are actually 4 responses of the nervous system to trauma, and they are flight, fight, freeze, and collapse. And when we are not able to allow the energetic impulse of trauma to completely be processed and channeled outwards, then our body maintains that energy no matter how long it's been. Maybe it was even when you were 2 years old. And over time, having not channeled or metabolized that energetic impulse, it can be disturbed, triggered by present day situations that somehow reminds you of that trauma from the past, in which the reaction to the present day situation can be disproportionately intense, in that it's sort of like a time warp, and it takes you back to the initial event of trauma where you can do the fight, flight, freeze, or collapse reaction. How interesting how our bodies can maintain a memory of all of this stuff. And then she went on to define resilience, which is more of the focus of the training, as the ability to be transformed by difficulty, or knowing that we'd be okay if something happened to us. And resilience, she pointed out, is largely dependent on our ability to self-regulate. It's to have the inner resources that we've practiced over time, like weekly yoga, that are strengthened so that come another situation that might trigger trauma response from the past, we can become present, use mindfulness tools. And here are some resources. External orienting, which is mindfulness practice of using your senses, your five senses, to look around where you are and to just regain acknowledgement that you're here right now. I can feel the ground, I can feel the blanket that I'm sitting on, I can see the room that I'm in. Reorienting. And a second resourcing technique is grounding, finding solidity. And that can be very physical, where you notice in your body where you feel stable and solid. Yin and restorative yoga definitely has a lot of grounding in it. As we let our bodies feel physically supported so that it can trust opening within the postures. Another technique is centering, and that's becoming present in what is alive in you right now. In the trigger response, we can go into the past and forget what is actually happening here right now through your felt sense. Heaviness in the chest, heat arising in my head, tingling sensation in my arms, whatever it might be, using those as ways to resource and self-regulate. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is conscious breathing techniques. And we practice a plethora of those called pranayama. So we'll start with one soon. Ways to calm the nervous system, and again, bring presence. And when we're ready, a very courageous mindfulness practice is to take a look at what's in our dark side of the moon that each one of us has, with a sense of empathy, having the kindness to take a look at what's there and give it some space to be held, nurtured, and eventually processed. Knowing that that's not an easy, short thing to do. It's a long time processing. So as we come together here in this yoga practice tonight, I hope that one of mine intents is to bring us back to our bodies. It's easy to get stuck in our minds and let the minds lead us throughout the day, back into our bodies, back into our hearts, back into our breaths, and feel the infinite resources that we have within us, strengthening them for our daily use outside of this hour. So as you sit here now, perhaps you do that external orienting of looking around the room, feeling with your senses, scent, smell, temperature of the air, sound, to make the conscious transition of where you came, what you were doing just before, to right here, right now, committing your presence. And then as you do that, grounding with your physical body, pressing downward into the surface that your pelvis is resting on. Noticing other parts of your body that might feel solid too. Resourcing through your breath as you inhale a little slower. And exhale a little longer. Allowing space into the body as you breathe in deeply. And exhaling deeply. Sound is also a powerful tool as an outlet for impulse, energy to flow. So any sound that you feel like making, whenever you feel like making it. Is there any tension in the jaw? That's a common area. Perhaps even touching a part of your body that might feel tense. Even giving it a firm touch, a gentle squeeze, like a hand of support and acknowledgement. Notice the other muscles in your face, like the skin on your forehead as you relax right between your eyebrows. Notice your shoulders and maybe even start to rotate them in any direction that feels good. Another area that we can burden ourselves with carrying stress, the neck, the shoulders. Perhaps even explore softly circling your head, taking your time to be gentle. circling in the other direction as well. For those of you that might have been on the keyboard typing in your Zoom meetings, perhaps explore some movement at your wrists, circling your hands, stretching your fingers, bending at your elbows, and just allowing your arms to feel sort of like wings, sense of liberation as you move your arms in any direction. Feeling the mobility of your shoulders. Perhaps even giving yourself a hug, an embrace. Notice how that feels to hug yourself. I know that a lot of people in this community with us live now are givers and providers and supporters. How do we give that support to ourselves as well? Touch being so important too. And if you're sitting cross-legged, I invite you to switch the cross of your legs and balance the stretch in your hips as we start pranayama nadi shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing. So we talked about feminine and masculine energy associated with the sun and power and the activity of it, and feminine energy associated with the moon and the cooling, calming, nurturing quality of it. Well, also we have those qualities within ourselves in the left side of the body, the left nostril associated with that cool yin side, and the right side associated with that more active masculine side. So this alternate nostril breathing creates a balance between the two, as well as a balance in the left and right hemispheres of the brain, and a balance of our nervous system calming down. So find a way to sit tall, rest your left hand on your lap, perhaps bring your thumb and first finger to touch. You might even close your eyes when you feel ready to. And just breathe through your nose, slow and gently. Exhale this breath completely, and then hold it out. With your right thumb, cover your right nostril. Inhale slowly through your left, about 6 counts. Hold your breath in, about 3 counts. With your last 2 right fingers, cover your left nostril and exhale through the right, about 6 counts. Hold it out, 3 counts. Then inhale through the right, 6. Hold it in, 3. Cover the right with the right thumb. Exhale to your left, 6. Hold it out, 3. Inhale to your left. Pause. Cover left. Exhale to right. Pause. Keep going at your own pace. I forgot to mention, if you happen to be pregnant, anybody who's watching, do not hold your breath. Just try to keep the inhale and exhale fluid. Nurture a gentle quality to your breathing so it doesn't feel forceful. finish the breath that you're on with an exhalation. Release both of your hands to your lap. Allow a moment to just pause and feel into the effects. And then softly open your eyes. Find your strap. It could be a long t-shirt, a scarf, a rope, something like this. And let's just put your left foot out to the side. Step the ball of your right foot either into the loop or the middle of the strap. And extend your right leg out to the right side. Now hold the tail of the strap with your left hand. So I'm mirroring you. You step your left foot down, flex it so it can lean open just a little bit. And then placing your right hand on the floor, just inside of your right leg, press against your inner right thigh, flex your right foot, and root down to your two sitting bones. And with that inhalation, lengthen up through the center of your spine. Relax the shoulders down. And as you breathe out, begin to side bend over to your right leg. Walking your hands down the strap, walking your left hand down the strap. As long as your two shoulders can still stay a natural space, down away from your neck. As you're leaning more to your right, notice if your left hip begins to lift off the floor. Ground your left hip, even if it means not to lean as deeply. If you're looking for more of a lower back stretch, try spinning your belly slightly to face the ground. Getting into that left side of your lower back, your quadratus lumborum, which is on both sides of your lower spine. The very deep muscle, they are very deep muscles that can get pretty tight if you've been sitting for long periods of time. So you might imagine even breathing into that left side of your lower back as though it were a lung. You might also explore spinning your belly upwards, your chest upwards, to look up towards the sky, feeling the stretch in your lower abdomen on your left side. Deepening your breath now as you close your lips. Listen to a soft whispering sound that you create by gently narrowing the back of your throat. This is another calming breathing technique called Ujjayi Pranayama, which means victorious breathing. Let's take 2 more breaths in this lateral spinal lengthening extension. Now, as you engage your belly in, inhale to rise up, remove the strap, and we'll transfer it onto the ball of your left foot, flexing your left foot. Extend your left leg out to its side. Flex your right foot as you step it onto the ground and let it splay open just a bit. Hold the strap in your right hand. Place your left hand on the ground so your arm is nudging the inside of your left thigh. And then press down with your 2 sitting bones. Breathe in as you lift up to your spine. Breathe out, begin to side bend to your left.
Connected to the core of me.
Adjusting your right hand, perhaps closer to your left foot on the strap.
I am connected to the core of me. My roots reach deeply.
Feel your right
I
hip like
am
roots reaching
connected
deeply
to the
into the
core of
core
me. My
of the earth.
roots
So if
reach
you want to explore more of
deeply.
your quadratus
I
lumborum,
am
turn your belly
connected
slightly to
to
face the
the core
floor.
of me.
Imagine your right lower back as long as you focus on breathing into it.
Connected to the core of me, my roots reach deeply. I am connected to the core of me, my roots.
And to vary this posture, you might turn your belly upwards, chest upwards, gazing slightly towards the sky.
To the core of me,
Softening your shoulders both down and away from your neck.
reach deeply. I am connected to the core of me, my roots reach deeply.
Breathing in,
I am
breathing out.
to the core of me,
Using your breath as a resource of support.
reach deeply. I am connected to the
Let's
core
take 2 more breaths where you are.
my roots reach deeply. I am connected to the core.
Then draw your navel towards your spine and slowly lift your spine, removing the strap. Let's come down to hands and knees, all fours.
Connected to the core of me, my roots.
Set your wrists just under your shoulders. Set your knees a couple inches behind your hips. Beginning cat-cow as you inhale. Lengthen your spine forward, then peel your chest up, rolling your shoulders down. With your exhale, contract your belly, rounding your spine as you drop your skull. Keep going a few more times. Breathing in to coil your chest up. Breathing out to round your back.
My root, reach deeply. I am connected to the core.
Feel into any other way your body may want to move while you're here, and allow organic movement in any direction. Exploring space throughout your spine and the various joints of your body.
I am connected to the core of me. My roots reach deeply. I am connected to the core of me. My roots reach deeply. I am connected to the core.
Let's eventually meet with your toes tucked underneath in child's pose. Feet can be together or apart, whatever's more comfortable. And as you land in child's pose, tucking your toes, feel the stretch in the soles of your feet. If you happen to wear high heels quite a bit, you can feel like a nice release into the inner arches of your feet. And while sinking your pelvis down to your heels, actively straighten your arms forward so that your elbows are actually lifted off the ground. With your hands as wide apart as your shoulders or more. Roll the outer sides of your upper arms and allow your triceps slightly to face the floor so you can feel your shoulder blades sliding wider apart as you broaden the tops of your shoulders. Lengthen the crown of your head forward as you rest your forehead on the ground, and then press your shoulder blades back away from your neck, moving them down your back ribs. Let's take 3 more breaths in this tuck-toed balasana. Child's pose.
I am connected to the core of me. My roots reach deeply.
And begin to lift your hips as you press down with your hands, rising into downward facing dog. Separate your feet wider than hips distance, perhaps even as wide as the width of your mat, keeping your feet parallel. Walk your feet forward enough so that your stance is short. You could pick up your right hand and cross it to the outside of your left calf or ankle, twisting in child's pose. So rooting down to your right heel, drawing your right hip slightly back so it doesn't come with your rib cage into the twist. Look underneath your left armpit towards the sky and let your head be heavy like a ripe mango about to fall off a tree. Breathe in, breathe out. Couple more breaths, turning your rib cage. Then set your right hand down again and slowly cross your left hand to catch hold of your outer right calf or ankle. This time firm your left heel into the ground, trying to keep your two hips leveled in height while you look underneath your right armpit towards the sky. Then completely let your head hang. Shoulders rising away from it. Continue to twist. Breathe in. Breathe out deeply. Here we're hanging upside down, and such inversions can be wonderful in releasing the spine of tension. We're also twisting, which is another way to decompress the spine, as well as stimulating blood flow in reverse, stimulating our digestion, cooling forward fold. Now place your left hand back down, then walk both of your hands towards your feet. Turn out your thighs. So you pivot your feet to turn out. Bend your knees in the same direction as your middle toes, landing in a squat. Now, if a squat where your pelvis is hovering off the ground does not work for you, take your folded up blanket and step your heels, just your heels on top of the blanket. It adds like a boost. If that's not working either, you could stack your blocks and instead sit on your blocks like they're a stool, and feel free to separate your feet a little wider apart like this. I'll face you. And so whatever version your squat is, feel a sense of rooting down through the soles of your feet and even your pelvis, like it's seeking the earth. But a lifting up from your pelvic floor, up each vertebra, through your chest, through the crown of your head. We're gonna add opening the arms to press the inner thighs apart. And if possible, in the way that you're in squat, joining your palms together in prayer. Let's take about 5 breaths here, rolling the fronts of your shoulders slightly back, then down, lifting through the back of your skull. With your chin parallel to the ground, glide it gently towards the back of your throat. Imagine that your breath in could rise from your tailbone to your crown, and that your breath out could descend from your crown to your tailbone, tracing length up and down your spine. Last 2 breaths. In certain cultures, many Asian cultures, squatting like this is pretty common. And it's actually a wonderful way to promote your digestion, besides opening the hips. And then from here, you can use your fingertips in front of you on blocks or the floor to help you parallel your feet and come back to a forward fold. Bend your knees, bring your hands to your hips, point your elbows towards the sky, and firm down through your feet. Then leading with your chest, inhale to slowly rise up to stand in mountain pose. Bringing your left fingertips to the right side of your skull, extend your right arm open so your hand is just slightly beneath your shoulder. Drop your left ear gently towards your left shoulder. Feel the equal weight through both of your feet as you spread your toes. Spread your weight throughout the 4 corners of each foot. lifting the inner and outer arches of your feet. Notice energy rise up your legs as though you could drink the energy from the ground, from the earth, through the soles of your feet. Rising up to your spine. Take another breath. Slowly roll your chin across your chest as you release your left arm open to its side and switch your right fingertips to the left side of your skull. Leaning your right ear towards your right shoulder. Feel your inhalation. Gently expand your belly, then your rib cage, all the way to the top of your chest. Hear your exhalation, a soft whisper to the very end. Last 2 breaths here. Release your right hand and slowly lift the crown of your head. So grab your 2 blocks and let's meet at the top of your mat. Come to stand with your feet apart, hips distance. Bend your knees, bring your hands to your hips, and with a feeling of a flat back, bend your knees as much as needed, pull forward, and place your blocks alongside your heels. Press into your blocks and inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Draw the shoulders back. Exhale, step the ball of your left foot all the way to the rear of your mat. High lunge. With your feet as wide apart as your hips and parallel, make sure that your right knee is bending directly above your right heel, and your 2 hips are facing forward evenly. Breathing in here, press back to your left heel and lengthen your sternum at the middle of your chest forward. Breathing out, begin to straighten your right leg by plugging the thigh bone deeper into the hip socket while you extend your chest forward and fold. Let's try that 3 more times. Inhale, bend your knee again. Extend your sternum forward. Exhale, plug your right thigh bone back. Bow from your hips. Inhale into the lunge. Exhale into pyramid pose. Inhale. Exhale, pyramid pose. Set the left knee onto the ground as we prepare for single pigeon pose. With the help of the blocks, walking back alongside your hips, slide your right heel towards your left knee, flexing your right foot as your right thigh flares open onto the ground. Straighten your left leg behind you and tuck your left toes. Again, scissor your right hip back, left hip forward so your hips are evenly facing the front of your mat. Now you could stay upright, relaxing your back toes on the floor. You could bow in, maybe making a pillow for your forehead out of your... Or you could go into a spine called the needle, flaring your right elbow towards the thigh and crawling your right fingertips towards the upper right corner of your mat, while threading your left arm beneath your right elbow with a palm face up to rest the left side of your head all the way down, perhaps on a block, if not the ground. Now, whatever variation you've chosen, and you could come out of it if you find that it's not the appropriate one for you right now, find the one you can settle into, and then hold space for whatever's unraveling, shifting, or being there. You just we're your eyes slowly back to your hands and knees, all fours. And then once there, pick up your right leg behind you and just give it some gentle movement at your right hip. Encouraging blood flow into that hip joint. Now switching sides for the lunge, we'll simply step your left foot forward between your hands, closer to the left hand, and then grab your blocks again, placing them on their tallest height. Once there, tuck your right toes to straighten your back leg, coming into a high lunge. Parallel your feet and make sure they're hips width apart. Your left knee is bent directly above your left heel. With your two hips facing forward, breathe in and lengthen your sternum forward. Breathe out and begin to draw your left thigh bone back while extending your chest forward to fold. Taking this movement 3 more rounds. Inhale, bend your left knee just above your ankle. Exhale, draw your left outer hip back and fold. Inhale into your lunge. Exhale into pyramid pose. Finishing this round. Lower your right knee to the ground to prepare for single pigeon. Plant your blocks alongside your hips and slide your left heel towards your right knee, flaring your left knee out to the side to drop your thigh open as you straighten your right leg. Tuck the toes first. And then take a moment with the help of your hands pressing down to scissor your left outer hip back, your right outer hip forward. And when the two are equal, you might notice a gap between your left glute and the ground. If so, place something in that gap, like your folded blanket. Then remember the variation you took on the first side of single pigeon. Relax the top of your right foot to the floor and either stay upright or maybe take some props with you and bow forward to rest your forehead. The needle, flaring your left elbow up, left fingertips towards upper left corner of your mat. Thread your right arm underneath your left elbow, right palm face up, and rest the right side of your head all the way down, perhaps using a prop for it. So feel again your breath in, creating a nurturing space for you to observe your body. And perhaps anything you're holding in your body here on your left side of your hips, or elsewhere that you might feel a reaction. We've got just less than a minute more. Let's take one last deep breath here. Now, if you took a while to get into the second side because you stayed longer in the first, feel free to take your time. Be a little longer here if you need. We'll eventually rise back to hands and knees. Give the left leg some movement at the hip. Let's take one last downward facing dog, and here's an option to make it a supported downward dog. Take your block or pillow, place it just beneath your hairline at the top of your forehead to touch. Set your hands where they need to be in order to gently press off of the block or that hairline edge of your head, coming into downward dog. So you're not leaning all of your weight down into the block or pillow, but you're lightly pressing off of it, which allows your shoulders to create a little more space for your neck as you wrap your triceps down. Let it be a soothing way of being upside down. Breathe in through your nose and perhaps create a sound as you breathe out through your mouth a few times. Any sound, no right or wrong. Just letting energy pass through. It's interesting how children naturally create these sounds, and innately we have these resourcing abilities to not hold things in, but to let energy flow through us. And then as you're ready, come down to your knees. Allow a pause in child's pose, maybe even using that block or pillow for your head in child's pose. Let your arms rest wherever you like. Listening to your breathing. Walk your hands towards your knees. Slowly roll your spine upright to sit. So we're going to set up for Supta Virasana. And there are many ways to experience this pose. Grab all your props, pillows, blankets, so you have more options. And I'll start with the most supported option to the least supported option, so that you can decide where you want to be. So hero's pose. We have the shins to the floor, the knees no wider apart than hips distance. If the knees need support so that they're not bending so deeply, you could place a block in between your ankles or 2 blocks. Make sure in this posture that your toes are pointing straight back. Your feet are not turned out. So that keeps your knees safely aligned. You can feel your pinky toenails pressing the ground. And then from here, you probably want to set up what's behind you first before you get into that position. And set up your pillow as high as possible to start, so that you can just remove any layers of it if you want to go deeper into the pose. You could even use a second block to create a little lift so that the pillows are like a reclining chair. Like this. Ooh, this is gonna be nice. And then from here, you have your hero's pose. And then you slowly, as you make sure that you're lifting your frontal hip bones and you're lengthening your tailbone down and forward, not hyper arching the lower back or compressing it, you can slowly walk your hands back. Now, if you don't need that block between your ankles and you could sit either on your calves or all the way to the ground between your ankles, you can use this block to catch cage. So that your shoulders can descend off of the block above it. And this creates a bit of a heart opener, a chest opener, releasing the tops of your shoulders. If you find that your shoulders are shrugging here, you may need to slide that prop that's under your rib cage a little lower, or instead use a blanket. So get comfortable, because we're gonna set the timer for 3 minutes in this pose. And if it feels like your body's not ready to go as deep as it's come into this position, then add some layers of support. Three minutes beginning now. You might like to close your eyes, and let's take a few breaths together with the lips closed. Inhale through your nose, filling up your belly for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through your mouth for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale nose, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale mouth, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale nose, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale mouth, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Try a few more. Inhale 5, exhale 7. Breathe in to fill up your belly. Breathe out to your mouth. So this is yet another breathing technique to help relax your nervous system. If you find that you want to add depth to the amount you're leaning back to feel more of a stretch in the fronts of your thighs and hips, you could remove some of the props behind your back. Make them a little lower if you like. Got a minute left. You might even enjoy catching opposite elbows above your head and letting your arms descend behind you. And if doing so, perhaps switch the cross of your elbows. Feel your knees grounding, shins grounding, tailbone lengthening forward. So while time is up, take your time coming out of this posture. Very gently, as you're ready, press your hands alongside you onto the floor. Slowly lifting your spine upright. And once you're eventually sitting down, straighten your legs forward and come into stick pose, Dandasana. You might like to just gently space in the backs of your knees. Even roll your legs inward and outward, or any way they want to shake. Shaking, that's another form of therapy, allowing energy through you. And then once you are ready to be still, if you want to use it as support or forward fold, we're not going to be here long, just 5 to 8 breaths in Paschimottanasana. Have your feet apart, hips distance, flex your feet, and press your big toe mounts forward, Then root down through your sitting bones. Lift your rib cage, belly in, chest up, shoulders down. A lot of space in your neck, your throat. Lead with your sternum and begin to fold with each exhalation. With each inhalation, ground your pelvis and lengthen your spine from it, keeping your chest and your throat open. Feel as though you could brush, painting the back side of your body from your heels, up your legs, from your glutes, up your back to your skull. Take 2 last breaths here in Paschimottanasana. Then leading from your sternum, breathe in to slowly rise up. Put your strap aside and let's get ready for a comfy Shavasana. Using any props you need. It can feel grounding and soothing to take a heavy blanket and just plop it on top of your pelvis, lower belly. That can feel very warming. You might like to have relief for your lower back by placing your blocks or your pillow right underneath the backs of your knees, or using that pillow for underneath your rib cage, so that you can find a little lift in your chest. So experiment, shift around a bit. Notice what your body is asking for right now in this space. And as you respond to that, feel how your body is responding to that. Eventually closing your eyes, perhaps taking one last audible sigh. And just letting your body be, letting yourself be. Shavasana. So we're about to begin our optional 5 minutes of sitting in meditation in silence. Work through our bodies to help calm our nervous systems, to bring awareness, the tone of awareness. But then meditation, we drop into ourselves. We observe the inner workings of our minds and what might be unveiled, hidden in the layers. So I invite you to join us, whether you choose to stay lying down or now gradually lift your body upright to sit. Position your body so that it can rest and still be alert. You can either close your eyes or softly direct your gaze on one spot in front of you, continuing to breathe naturally. I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for 5 minutes. and your body breathing. Feel your physical surroundings, like what your body is weighing down on. And then begin to move your hands, gently sliding your palms to kind of your heart center, acknowledging the wisdom and fullness within you. Let's close our practice, joining in the vibrational sound of Om. Take a deep breath. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.